So let
in
me
law
ask. Let me ask about the racial profile.
results to the African American community.
If black people were if 77% of black children are born out of wedlock, if black men and women were getting married and raising decent children, which would also create a decent community, would the cops have to profile black people?
If they were getting married and raising decent children, I'm not understanding your question, because I think children are innocent. And I think whether a child is born within
You're not
the
answering the
confines,
question again.
if a child is born within the confines of a marriage, or if a child is born out of the confines of a
You're still
marriage,
not answering my question.
it's not the indicator of whether or not that is a decent child.
I,
And whether or not a child comes from a home
that's not what
that
I asked
has,
you.
or whether they come from
What's wrong
a
with you?
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Culture War. My name is Roland. Welcome to another very exciting installment of Culture War. Here, Jess is going to be taking on trolling this pastor on racism and also racial profiling, among other, topics like the big, beautiful wall. Let's get straight into it.
There are several or many black pastors who are not in support of President Trump. I have one with me today, Bishop Tabert Swan. Tabert Swan is an activist, talk show host, and pastor of Spring of Hope Church out in Springfield, Massachusetts. Bishop Swan, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Good to be here and have a conversation.
Yes, sir. How long you been a pastor, a bishop?
I've been a bishop since 2014. I've been a pastor. This will be my 24th year in pastoral ministry.
Were you called by God, or did you have to go to school to become a pastor?
Well, I was called by God, and I also went to school. I'm a graduate of Hartford Seminary with a Master of Arts in Theology. Also, prior to that, attended Charter Oak State College and received a Bachelor's in Religious Studies. And then I also have a Master of Divinity from Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary, and did some graduate work at Harvard Divinity School as well.
Amazing. You don't believe that God can prepare you to deal with other people and to guide them in the right way to go?
Oh, certainly he can. But then at the same time, I believe that God also can provide the pathway for you to receive specialized training that will make you better in that area. When God called Apostle Paul on the road to Damascus, from the time of God calling him to the time of him actually going out and doing the work, there was a 14-year period where Paul was preparing himself. So I believe that there is a calling by God, but then there's also a period of preparation.
Are you for putting up the big, beautiful wall around the borders?
I'm for securing the borders, for proper border security. I believe there's conventional wisdom out there that says Donald Trump's proposal to build this so-called big, beautiful wall is not the solution to the problem of illegal immigration. And so I'm not in support of wasting $18 billion on a strategy that is questionable at best in terms of its ability to reach the desired goal.
So is that a no, you're not for the wall?
No, I'm not.
Does it, I wanted to ask this and it skipped my mind. Do you speak politics? Do you deal with politics from the pulpit in your church?
Well, I deal with any area that affects human life. And I often say that you are not technically born in terms of the recognition of society until a politician signs your birth certificate. And you are not technically dead in the eyes of society until a politician signs your death certificate. and politics influences every other aspect
But let
of
me
your
ask
life.
her, you didn't ask my, I want to know,
I'm getting to that.
do
In
you
between,
deal with politics
and
from the pulpit?
because politics has such a profound influence on human life, it is incumbent on any religious leader to deal with the issue of politics and how it affects the lives of people. So yes, I absolutely deal with politics.
So you're not for the big, beautiful wall around the borders. And these illegals are coming in and they're landing in the black community first and foremost, even though the fallen Messiah put some of them in the suburbs now while he was there. But there are, these people are coming in and they're ending up in the urban areas first. South Central LA, you know, Chicago's North Side and all that mess, South Side. And they're coming in and they're coming in and they're hating black people because in Mexico, blacks are considered the underclass. They hate blacks in Mexico. And so they're coming in with a negative attitude toward blacks. They're overcrowding in schools and county hospitals, and they're taking the low-skilled jobs away from blacks. Many blacks have to move out of their own community. The MS-13 gang members are attacking the black gangs members. Why wouldn't you be for the wall?
Well, first of all, I would have to accept the premise that they are being most affected based upon the information that you just gave. I'm not convinced that everything that you said is accurate, but let me say this. When you talk about crime and when you talk about bad schools and when you talk about black people being negatively affected, I would submit to you that black people are being mistreated by white folks in America. That our schools had been declining long before there was any influx of illegal immigrants going to those schools, and that every negative status indicator that you name has been affecting black people by the majority community in this nation, independent of any so-called undocumented or illegal population.
You're not answering my question about the wall. I asked you about the wall. You're not answering that. You're responding to something that I didn't ask you about. I asked if you're so concerned about black people, why wouldn't you want to put the wall up to keep the illegal aliens out so blacks
Because I don't believe illegal aliens are the enemies of the black community.
And who do you believe are the enemies of the black community?
I believe that for hundreds of years, the African American community has been more affected by white supremacy in the United States, in these yet to be United States of America, than anything else. And so I would say to you that we have larger problems in our community to deal with than whether or not some undocumented come across the border.
Give me proof that blacks are affecting, whites are affecting black people in a negative way. What are they doing to affect blacks in a negative way?
Well, you know, if I've got to give a black man so-called proof about the effects of systemic racism in the United States of America, its current and its historical effects on African
Where's the proof of it?
Then that is problematic.
Where's the proof, Bishop?
The proof is evidenced in negative status indicators on the African American community throughout our entire history. The proof is the disparate treatment of African Americans by law enforcement. I can go on.
Let's deal with
disparities in American society that affect African Americans all day and all night long.
Bishop, you're going on too long. I know, but you're going on, and it's ridiculous.
But you asked me the question. I'm trying to answer the question.
Give me a quick example of law enforcement affecting black people in a negative way.
Well, you know, the proof is in the pudding. When you talk about law enforcement affecting African Americans, it is absolutely proven by the statistic that racial profiling negatively affecting African Americans exists. It's clear. Two issues that need to be addressed: racial profiling and the police use of excessive force. Both run first of all, afoul of the U.S. Constitution, but they are common practice
So
in law.
let me ask about the racial profile.
Results to the African American community.
If black people were, if 77% of black children are born out of wedlock, if black men and women were getting married and raising decent children, which would also create a decent community, would the cops have to profile black people?
If they were getting married and raising decent children, I'm not understanding your question, because I think children are innocent. And I think whether a child is born within
You're not answering the question again.
If a child is born within the confines of a marriage, or if a child is born out of the confines of a marriage,
You're not answering my question.
It's not the indicator of whether or not that is a decent child. And whether or not a child comes from a home
that's not what I asked you.
Or whether they come from a situation where they are not married, it does not give the police the right to racially profile them. I think your premise that children being born out of wedlock is the problem that faces that spurs or is the catalyst for racial profiling is completely off base.
It is the catalyst, because if blacks were married and fathers and mothers were good examples for the children wouldn't be joining gangs. They wouldn't be having truckloads of children.
Black people that have been murdered by police in racially profiled incidents. So that premise is completely off base.
They wouldn't be there wouldn't be gang members. They wouldn't be killing each other. They wouldn't be killing and attacking white people as they're doing today. They wouldn't be selling drugs in their community. So if blacks had raised decent children, it
blacks
wouldn't have to be.
Decent children.
They don't.
They do.
They do not.
They absolutely do.
So
let me just throw the caveat in here.
Most blacks are born out of wedlock.
White folk raise children that join gangs, that sell drugs, that commit crimes.
What does that have to do with black people?
That you just described, yet they are not profiled like the African American community are.
Let me ask, is it decent to have 77% of black children born out of wedlock?
No, that is not a decent indicator. That is not, in my estimation, what the goal should be for any particular community.
I'm asking you.
Every single community would raise their children within the confines of marriage. But at the end of the day,
but the black people, not all, but most.
When black people are racially profiled, the police don't know what kind of home they came from. The common denominator is the color of their skin. That's the reality of it.
Bishop, hey.
Yeah.
Are blacks, most blacks, not all, but are most blacks suffering due to racism or the destruction of the family and the lack of moral character?
I think that African Americans suffer because of the destruction of the family. I also think that they suffer because of systemic racism in America. It does not have to be one or the other. It can be both and. But I also reject the notion that that the construct of an African American family is a rationalization for systemic racism in America, or being racially profiled by law enforcement.
Where's your proof that racism exists? You're just saying these things and they're not true. Where's your proof that racism exists?
It's not true?
Right.
I mean, it's absolutely amazing to me that you just said that.
It's not true. There's no such thing as racism.
No proof that racism is not true. Racism absolutely
Where's your proof?
In America.
Where's
the proof is putting in every
You've been eating pudding all morning and you haven't proven anything.
I'll tell you what.
Where is your proof that racism exists?
Reverend, you asked me this question a little while ago, and I rattled off.
That was just a bunch of.
Wait a minute. I rattled off the disparities in the African American community,
but those were not proved.
That are a result of systemic racism, and then you interrupted me and told me not to continue.
Because it was not proved
all day rattling off how racism affects African Americans, but then you turn around and you ask the same question that you
Because
didn't
I asked you
answer
for,
a while
hey,
ago.
I asked you for proof, but you gave me none. This word racism has been made up by race hustlers in order to keep black people in anger, in a state of anger, which is a fallen state, and to intimidate white people so you can get free stuff from them and stay in power and wealth. And this has been done by black preachers, black politicians, white liberal, godless politicians, and the media. And as a man of God, I would think that you would teach the truth to black people and not keep them angry. There's no such thing as racism, sexism, homophobism, Islamophobism. It's a spiritual battle. And we knew this in the good old days when boys were boys and men were men. Why don't you teach the truth to the people, to the blacks, if you are a man of God?
So can I answer as long as it took you to ask the question?
No.
Because you just laid out a bunch of right-wing talking points and malarkey that is indicative of the institutionalized racism that you suffer from and the self-hatred that you have towards your own people.
I don't suffer from racism, nor do I suffer from
I'm trying to answer your question, Reverend. To say that
things that are not
racism
true
has been made up by race hustlers. How can you say that a people that have suffered in America from the time they were illegally brought here through the horrible crucible of slavery, Jim Crow,
it was not illegally, it was legal.
To the current
You're not an honest man.
That affects African American people. How can you say that it was made up by black folk to get free stuff?
Because
from
it was
the most ridiculous analogy that I've ever heard in my life, and it is absolutely despicable.
So let me ask, if black men were real men instead of beta men, if they got married and if they loved what was right with all their heart, soul, and might first, and they built jobs, they created jobs in their community, they watched over their children, as they did prior to the civil rights movement, if racism exists, why is it that blacks were better off before the civil rights movement when it comes to jobs and family, respect for one another? Why were they better off then prior to the civil rights movement than they are today?
Well, that's a false premise, first of all.
No, it's not. I grew up in it.
Now, wait, brother, are you going to let me answer the question? Because you go on 10 minute, you go on 10 minute talk.
Short answer. Give me a short answer.
No, I can't give you a short answer after a 10-minute question.
Yes, you can.
So first and foremost, I deal with good black men every single day.
No, you don't.
Black men who love their families.
No.
Black men who raise their children. Black men who love their God, their church, and their community. And for you to stereotype all black men.
Not all, but most.
For you to stereotype all black men is worse than when white folks stereotype us on a day-by-day basis. I say that they've done a job on you for you to sit here and purport that black men all fall into one category of irresponsibility.
Not all, but most.
So your whole premise is flawed to begin with.
Not all, but most.
Most?
Yes, most black men are no good.
You give me proof, because studies have said that black men are more involved in the lives of their children statistically than white men are. That black men are more involved in their religious communities than white men are. You give me the proof that they're not.
Okay,
because you threw out an arbitrary figure and said most. Where's your proof of that?
I have the proof. According to the Washington Examiner, black women who are born, black women who are born in America, 77% of black children are born to black women who were born in America out of wedlock. Black on black crime out of control in Chicago, Milwaukee, and other places. And blacks are begging and whining for affirmative action and all that kind of crap from the white man. In the good old days, when black people were decent people, you did not see that happening.
You have not proven anything.
Bishop, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
This ain't no pastor. This is just a mere politician in SJW, a social justice warrior. Like, he doesn't even believe the scriptures, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, he was, and it's funny, it's quite funny, hilarious. And the way Jesse trolled him from the beginning, all the way to the end, it's quite hilarious. Jesse is just a troll, king of the trolls. You know, it's not good to be into your blackness. It's not going to be into your skin color. These things kind of blind you, and you don't get to be logical to see things the right way, the way you should see things. Unfortunately, this man is talking to his blackness. He can't see beyond his blackness, and he still believes in white supremacy, some group of whites, imaginary people that are controlling, the black race. And he's doing very well. One thing I wonder, that strikes me, that surprises me, that shocks me, is that these people who are complaining are doing well. They're earning good salaries. They're earning good income. They live very comfortable, and they still complain. So it still goes back to the victimhood mentality. So it's just a shame. These people need to be free, and I pray that one day their eyes gets opened. Tell me what you think in the comment section. Drop your comments. I'd like to react to your comments as well. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please support us by liking this video, also sharing as well. It helps the algorithm to push this channel to grow even further. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next one. God bless.